Okay, so we'll start with, I don't know which group it is, Jasmine, and I think Mary Chris Meng, and yeah,
Yes, sir. We're ready for our presentation,
okay,
Jasmine saying.
all right, good. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll just get Yami's attention. She'll do hers. Okay, one moment. I'm just going to share the screen. Def applause, def applause.
Yes, yes.
I'm just, interpreter's just going to adjust his screen too. All right. So we'll go to the next slide. Shaka saying, oh, they're not ready.
Mm.
So this is Meng speaking. Hello, everyone. We're group one. Next slide, please. From 1960 to 1964, within that 4-year time frame, William Stokey, who is hearing, a very skilled linguist, mostly for spoken language, worked at Gallaudet University, where he did linguistic research and eventually recognized that sign language has their own linguistic features. Just adjusting the frame here, one moment. Yeah, I just have a few windows up, so I just have to organize my notes here. One moment. Okay, all right. So this is a picture of Stokey, who started ASL linguistics research so that he could recognize that it was indeed a language. He printed many publications where it outlined the structure of sign language, where his first publication for ASL was in 1960. Prior to that, there was nothing. And in 1960 emerged ASL. But this wasn't a formal study. This was just a draft. Stokey, in his writings regards to ASL, would be added on later on by Kenneth Huff. He's a hearing person as well, and was the one who established the Registry of Interpreters in 1964 for ASL. So now that it was deemed a true language, uh, the establishment of RID coincided with that idea so that they could support ASL and the advocacy. In this slide, you can see a sample of his written work. It was just introduction that I found. And you can see the dates here from June 14 to 17, 1964, a workshop on interpreting at the Bell State Teachers College. January 1965, there was a second meeting in Washington, D.C. to discuss interpreting issues where people agreed to support this advocacy. In July 7 to 27, 1965, a workshop for the Institute for Research on Exceptional Children, which means they were advocating for interpreter issues and really promoting the growth of the community. Next, in 1965, the teachers of the deaf has gone down to 9%. These were the deaf teachers in the US. Yami, take it away. So this man is Carl Cronenberg. This is his name sign, if I'm correct, right? That's his name sign?
I think
I
so.
believe it's like this. Okay. Was that the name? Or was it like this on the cheek? I'm not too sure. Either on the chin or on the cheek. Anyway, do you know where his hometown was? Can you guess? Cronenberg's hometown. Where did he live? Anyone? You're not allowed to look at your PowerPoints. Please just take a guess. Where did Cronenberg live? Does anyone know? There are no answered. In Germany? Renz, what was your answer? Peebs. Yes, it was in Sweden. But in the internet, it was found that he was Swedish. The interpreter is just going to tell Mary Chris to turn off her video. Okay, so sorry for the interruption, Yami Singh. One moment, please. Sorry, be right back.
Okay.
Patrick Singh, I think she has to attend to her mom.
So while we're waiting, this is Woody. I'll ask a question of Ming.
On here, sorry, here. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay. Go ahead.
Did you want to ask? Sorry, did you want to ask a question for Meng, with Meng, or
wait till we finish everything.
So where was I? Cronenberg, right? So as you can see, here's a picture of Cronenberg or Kronberg. Who lived in Sweden, and there was a lot that happened to him. He was deaf at the age of 10. There wasn't any documented reason for why he became deaf. Wait, Peebs, wait. Okay, his parents sent him to school out of the country in an institution, I believe somewhere in Europe, and he didn't know sign language at the time. He learned sign language, SSL, Swedish Sign Language, when he became involved in the community. But prior to that, before his involvement with the deaf, he didn't know any sign. But he knew how to read English well and German as well. All right, next. So, okay, jumping a little too far. All right. The president of Gallaudet at the time was Leonard Elstad, and he recruited Cronenberg. He enrolled in various classes, primarily English, and he knows 4 different languages: ASL, Swedish Sign Language, English written, and German. SSL, Swedish Sign Language, ASL. So altogether 4. And someone was asking a question. All right. So there's a lot of interest on his part to join various activities, extracurricular. He was a great scholar and very active in his school. So he took English courses, and now he was chosen as an assistant teacher for the English department. This is prior to graduation, so they, you know, he was really smart. They brought him into the English department even before he graduated. Just something to note, Cronenberg worked with Stokoe, and he was fascinated with linguistics, you know, even with the characters and all the elements of language. And so he helped to work as linguistics research. Excuse me, one moment. He worked as a linguistics researcher with Stokoe and helped with the development of the system of phonology, morphology, syntax. He worked with Dorothy. There was no information on her sign name, but he worked with her in the development of the dictionary. So we'll just say this is Dorothy for now. A D on the cheek. So we found out about Dorothy that she was enrolled in 1957, and she was the first Asian deaf, primarily from Honolulu, Hawaii. She took English courses while she was studying in Gallaudet in 1958. So she looked Asian, like myself, right? I look Asian, and she was the first Asian to enroll at Gallaudet. But she was born in Hawaii. She was Asian from Hawaii. I think there's a discussion talking about her appearance. Um, so Jasmine, she had Asian blood. think this was something that Jasmine mentioned. So from 57 to 64, she began to study deaf people and their use of ASL along with Cronenberg. They focused on the various letters and they worked together so that eventually they worked on the publication for the ASL dictionary, the Dictionary of American Sign Language on linguistic principles, with the assistance of Stokey. So I think Yami is, or Jasmine is taking us the next part. But yeah, this is a picture of the three of them. And they, again, worked together to publish and disseminate the ASL dictionary. So this is the picture of the book. So I hope that, you know, this will inspire Jasmine to create our own book of FSL syntax, hopefully to be published as well. So Jasmine is currently working on that now. Is that right, Jasmine? So hopefully it will be a success, but we'll see next. Who's taking this part? Is it me or Ray?
Meng is raising her hand, Sir.
Okay.
Meng is raising her hand.
So this is Meng's part. Can I just go back a slide? So as you can see, Stokey was also part of this project. As one of the only hearing people there, as one of the hearing people there. The research focused on three areas: hand shape, location, and movement. And there was actually a fourth and fifth parameter, which had palm orientation and non-manual signs. So prior to that, these elements were not part of the linguistic features.
Okay, hold for a second. I have two questions, one for Ming and one for Yami. For Ming, was Stokey, you said Stokey was trained in linguistics?
Yes, yes, sir.
Actually,
so he wrote. So he wrote various, and he researched linguistics.
yeah, but his excuse me, his training was in English, Middle English. So he took one linguistics course later, but he really wasn't a trained linguist. Okay.
The linguistics of English. That's what he taught.
No. He taught Chaucer, Chaucer. Chaucer. Okay, that's a Middle English poet.
Oh, right. I see.
Yeah, but he did take a course in linguistics in summer school after he was working at Gallaudet, and he did publish other papers later on linguistics. but his field was not really linguistics. Okay, and so Yami, so what was the first language of Dorothy Casterline?
Her first language was English.
No, first language, well, what was the first sign language then, okay?
ASL, right? Was it
No,
ASL?
no, not ASL. Hawaii Sign Language.
Right, all right. Dorothy. Oh, her
Yeah,
background you meant. I see, yes, okay.
right. There was an indigenous sign language on Hawaii since 1821, maybe before 1821.
Yes, sir.
And so the signs are very different. Can we go? I don't know if you can see me or not. Let me see if I can try this here. Okay, so I will show you some sign. So what's the ASL sign for father? You know that, right? Right. So the Hawaii sign,
Father's like this, ASL, right?
yes. This is the Hawaii sign for father. Very different. How about
Right.
the American sign for mother?
Like this.
Okay, and Hawaii Sign Language,
Like this.
okay, ASL sign for black. You know,
Again, what was the
black,
word?
black, BLACK.
Back?
No,
You
no,
mean
black,
back?
black.
Oh, black, like this.
Yeah. So Hawaii Sign Language for black, very different sign. Hawaii sign for white. White has to go forward. And Hawaii sign for America. White, fly to. White, fly to. No, America, ASL sign for America. But the Hawaii sign is, okay, so more than 90% of the vocabulary of Hawaii Sign Language is different from ASL. Doesn't look anything at all like ASL. But unfortunately, there are only about 10 people left who use Hawaii Sign Language. And they're all in their late 60s or 70s. So the language will probably be extinct in another 25, 30 years. Okay. Similar to what happened in some of the indigenous sign languages in the Philippines. Okay, all right, I'm sorry to take that time. So Jasmine, it's your turn now. Right?
It's Ray,
Oh,
actually.
Ray, okay, all right. Go ahead, Ray.
Okay. In 1969, Dr. Woody started working at Gallaudet University. So now I'll ask you a question. Was he involved in the deaf community? Has he met a deaf person prior to going to Gallaudet? I'm asking anybody. I'm seeing no, not yet. 0. Shak, you're saying, what's that? Ah, 0. Okay. Marvin, what do you say? Marvin, what about you? I think he did. He did. Okay, he did interact. What about you, Kyla? Kyla? Not yet. He hasn't. Rans, what about you? What do you think? Did Dr. Woody meet a deaf person prior to 1969? So? Okay. Uh, Dr. Woody did not meet any deaf people prior to going to Gallaudet. Dr. Woody, and I'll tell you the story of his history. Dr. Woody had planned to go to China in order to study for his master's. He had a scholarship, but because of the war, that was put on hiatus. The government gave him a choice, either to be of service or to be of service to the handicapped. And Dr. Woody thought about it, right? HC meant handicap, you know, people who are limping, persons with disabilities. So that was a while back. Dr. Woody thought about it. Dr. Woody then decided that he wanted to work with handicapped people, so he contacted Gallaudet University. Dr. Woody called Gallaudet University, and there was a secretary that answered his call. Hi there, can I help you? Yes, I'd like to inquire if there were any positions available for teaching. One moment, please. I'll transfer you to Dr. Stokey, who was then an English teacher at the time. He was then connected with Stokey, and he applied for an English teacher position. Stokey told him to uh, drop by so that they can plan uh, his acceptance to his position. But sorry, just interpreter clear.
Yeah. It's,
And
what's going
because
on.
because he wanted to do the paperwork right away, because Stokey had a holiday that was coming up for 2 weeks, and he wanted to get all the paperwork done before then. In 1970, remember Meng in her presentation stated that in 1965, there were 9% of deaf teachers. Now in 1970, there's only 8%. So we lost 1%, which means that it was on decline by 1. Next. In 1970, Ursula Belluji, and this is her name sign,
Right.
started researching ASL in a laboratory for language and cognitive studies. This was at the Stock Institute for Biological Studies in San Diego, California. Next, please. Next. 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 Okay. Belluji was part of these publications for sign language. They have, as you can see, the list is from 1 to 10. So she was a part of these publications. She is a neurologist, which is a person who studies the functions of the brain. If you go back. So, okay. You can see paperback edition in 1988. So this was the various topics that Belluji reprinted later on. So here are the topics. Next. Next. In 1970, Stokey offered the first graduate course on the structure of ASL at Gallaudet University. This was in 1970. 1 year later, in 1971, linguistics research was established by anonymous unit at Gallaudet. Stokey was the director at the time. Next. Next, Yami, or Jasmine, you're next. Okay. One moment. Are you ready, Bay? So I don't think you can see the picture, but we'll just go ahead with the interpretation. Go ahead. Okay. So for some deaf people, I'm sorry you're not able to see. Joking. So 1971, James Woodward was with Stokey at the time, where they presented a presentation on sign linguistics. It was the first of its kind that talked about sign language at that particular conference, where his topic was sign linguistics. So this was the topic, and there were various peoples that attended the conference so that they could see this presentation. This publication was not printed and disseminated, or published rather. So with this research, they presented and showed that there were evidences about sign language. But again, this was not made into a book. Stokey started to submit works for various journals for sign language. And as you can see, this happened in 1972. Okay. Are you okay, Ray? Okay, we'll continue on. 1973, Dr. Woody got or written a dissertation which focused on ASL. He started this in 1973. But this book that was started in 1973 was finally published in 1994, so it took a long while. So it was written, and they put together the evidences, the documentation, and then finally it was printed in 1994. So I'll give you a short background about Dr. James Woodward. Dr. Woodward got his PhD in social linguistics at Georgetown University. At that time, he completed his dissertation on ASL grammatical variation. In 1969 to 1995, Dr. Woody worked at Gallaudet University, where he worked on linguistics and anthropological analysis of sign language and deaf culture. He stayed there till 1995. He then transferred to the Chinese University in 1992 to 1995. Chinese University in Hong Kong, where he introduced sign linguistics. From 1996 to 2000, Dr. Woody was the director for research and promoted the World Deaf Leadership Thailand project in Ratchasuda College. This was in Thailand. Later on in 2000, he moved to Vietnam, where he started and opened a project, a project on opening university education for deaf people so that they could learn sign language. So he taught there and was also an interpreter in the city of Dong Nai. This was the sign, right? Okay, thank you.
Actually, it's interesting. Dong Nai means a field of deer. Nai is deer. So Dong means field and Nai means deer. And this is a Vietnamese, Southern Vietnamese sign for deer.
Sorry, can you do it again?
Yes, no problem. Okay, this is the sign. And for Dong Nai. Dong Nai literally means field, a field of deer, a place where you have deer. And this is the Ho Chi Minh sign for deer.
Oh, I get it. I see. Deer. Okay. Sure thing. Let me continue on. Dr. Woody got an award, the International Edward Minor Gallaudet Award for recognition of international leaders. In 2004 till now, he has worked in China as a co-director for the Center of Sign Linguistics and Deaf Studies. But not just in that region, but all over Asia. He would go to various countries to teach, encourage local communities to create materials, but he still focused on sign linguistics. Now, Dr. Woody has printed a lot of books and has disseminated them all over the world about deaf culture, deaf education, and deaf people all over the world. Now, this is our seed team, to which Dr. Woody is now a part of. Yay! So this is the proof about his background was in the link below. So if you want to check it out, please click on the link. Thank you so much.
Okay. We all did a lot of work on that. Jasmine, you did too much work. Don't need to talk about me too much. Okay, but thank you. I want to go back though on the slide and a couple of things I want to comment on. Can we go back to see the slide? Yeah, PowerPoint, go back to the first presentation at a linguistics conference, back. Up, no, forward. 1971. Yes, okay. And then go forward one more. This was not the paper I presented there. This was a paper 1973. But it's okay, just to let you know that this paper was 1973. Okay. And then go ahead one more. The paper was actually published in 1972 in Sign Language Studies, and the first presentation. Okay, all right, just a minor suggestion. Okay, any other question, ideas? Okay, let's open up your PowerPoints. And what I'd like to do to start with this afternoon for my part is to talk with you a little bit about the second quiz, short test, second quiz for deaf histories. So let's go through some information on that now. And then there'll be a final exam, but for now, let's just focus on the, I'll just say, the deaf history second quiz. I'm going to go back a little bit, as we pretty much stopped at 1880 before, but I want to talk a little bit about 1878. So the first schools for the deaf in Asia. So if you go to slide 40, and the new slides I gave you have a few changes in. So if you can look at the slide called Introduction to Deaf Histories for Philippines, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth set of slides. And go to slide number 40. At the top of the slide is 1875 to 1878. Do you all see that?
One moment, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, if you go down to the bottom in blue, it says 1878, first school for deaf students opens in Japan. That's something you should know for the second quiz. First school in Asia for deaf students was in Japan, 1878. Okay. Then I may ask you other questions on the final, but for now, just focus on the quiz. Okay, now go to slide number 46.
One moment.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Slide number 46, 1886. Okay. First school for deaf people opens in Vietnam. So that's the second school in Asia.
Okay.
Okay, so you should know the date, 1886, and the second school in Asia was established in Vietnam. Okay, now,
Right, Vietnam.
okay,
First
now,
Japan, second Vietnam.
yeah, second Vietnam. Okay. And then go to slide number 49. Okay, that's 1893. And Agatha Teagle is the first female woman graduate of National Deaf Mute College. So you should know her name and that it was 1893 and she's the first deaf woman to graduate from Gallaudet. So I want you to know that Gallaudet didn't accept female students at first, okay? And then go to slide 51. And that's going to be, the date is going to be 1905. And this is the majority of deaf students' first time taught without sign language, taught orally. So again, you should know the date and you know, what happened in 1905. Also on slide 51, 1907, first school in Philippines for deaf people in Philippines. And then please go to slide number 56. I'd like you to know that in the first Asian Association of Deaf People was established in Korea in 1946. And also in 1947, the second Association of the Deaf.
Japan.
Say again?
In Japan.
In Japan, yes. Okay, so Now, it's easy to get confused. If I ask you about schools, the first deaf school was started in Japan. Second deaf school was started in Vietnam. But the first association in Asia was Korea, and the second was Japan. And even today, Vietnam doesn't have a national association of deaf people. The deaf people in Vietnam want an association, but the government doesn't like to set up associations. So it's very difficult for Vietnam to set up an association. Okay, and then what happened here? All right. Yes. And then slide number 58. There are two things that happened in 1951. World Federation of the Deaf was established in Rome, Italy. So you should know Rome and Italy in 1951, WFD. And then 1950, Andrew Foster, first Black deaf student. Okay, no, sorry. He was accepted, but I want to get the date he graduated. So slide number 58, only the World Federation of the Deaf in 1951. And the next slide, 59. 1954, Gallaudet graduated Andrew Foster, the first Black deaf student. Okay. And then 1960, this is on slide 660. In 1960, Stokey published the first book about ASL being a language. Now, don't get confused. So if I ask you, in 1960, Stokey, Casterline, and Cronenberg published the Dictionary of American Sign Language. Is that true or false? No answer?
I think I need to sign it again, Dr. Woody. Can you say it again, the question? Sorry.
Yes, I'll say it again. Suppose I ask you, in 1960, Stokey, Casterline, and Cronenberg published the first Dictionary of American Sign Language. Is that true or false?
I'm saying true, true. Wait, Peaks is saying 1960. It's false.
Right.
1960, right? 60? It's
Yes.
false.
So 1965, it would be true. 1960, no. Okay, so I could ask you a question like that. So no, slide number 60, you need to know Stokey's first publication was 1960. Okay. And then the next slide, 61, Stokey, Casterline, and Cronenberg published the first dictionary in 1965.
Right, 65.
Okay.
Peeps has a question.
Yes, Peeps.
Can I ask the first group to send their PowerPoint presentations to us? Sorry, I had to put that in there.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Got it? Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so (1972). This is on slide number 63. 1972, the first publication of the journal Sign Language Studies. And Stokey was the editor of that. Editor is kind of like Booth, Edmund Booth in newspaper editing. So Stokey was the editor of this journal, Sign Language Studies. A journal usually appears 2 to 4 times a year. Sign Language Studies started off 4 times a year and still published now. Okay. Okay, also on slide number 63, the first presentation at Linguistics Society of America conference was by Woody in 1971. And hold on a second here. Okay, and then slide number 64. Slide number 64 is first dissertation on American Sign Language. On a sign language. Number 60, slide number 68. Gilbert Eastman was the one who wrote the play Sign Me Alice about attitudes towards American Sign Language. Okay, now I've added 2 new dates on slide number 70, and they're in purple. I added 1 new date, sorry. Again, this is slide number 70. 1978, I added Carol Padden becomes the first deaf person to receive a bachelor's degree in linguistics.
You say it again, Dr. Woody?
Yes. In 1978, this again is on slide number 70. I added this in purple. Carol Padden becomes the first deaf person to receive a bachelor's degree in linguistics. I forgot to add her name earlier, because she is the first deaf linguist. And what I'd like you to do is one group, I want you to look at her background, Carol Padden. I want you to do a short presentation on her. what her background is. Did she have hearing parents, deaf parents? And what her educational background is, what she's doing now. I think you'll be interested in finding this out. Then there's another person I want another group to work on. Her name is Barbara, B-A-R-B-A-R-A, Barbara Cannapel, K-A-N-N-A-P-E-L-L. So another group can work on Barbara Cannapel. And then you have 3 groups, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. 3
Okay.
groups.
And then the 3rd group can work on presentation comparing the rise in the number of deaf students who learn orally and the fall in the number of deaf teachers. So that you can decide which one. One group does Carol Patton, one group does Barbara Cannapel, and one group does the rise and fall of oralism and deaf teachers.
Barbara
Cannapel, K-A-N-N-A-P-E-L-L.
We'll do an interpreter switch.
Sorry, I think I was confused. Can you do it, Sir Bai, please?
Say one more time.
Yes, please.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
you all, it doesn't matter. You all decide. Okay. So the 3 topics: Carol Patton, okay, and Barbara Cannapel, B-A-R-A, K-A-N-A-P-E, rise of oralism and the fall in the number of deaf teachers. Okay. So I may give you a little time today to work on that, and then a little time tomorrow also to work on that. But you don't need to present until next week. Okay?
Tuesday, sir.
Could be Tuesday, yeah. If you can finish by Tuesday, okay. If you need until Wednesday, okay. Let's see, hold on a second.
Yeah, Mr. Okay, Dr. Rudy. So when will be the quiz, Dr. Woody? Jasmine is asking.
When do you want it? Can be Wednesday, can be Thursday, can be Tuesday.
Can we do it tomorrow? Pibs is asking.
If you think you're going to be ready.
Nathaniel is saying Thursday.
Okay. Thursday is fine with me. What we do, well, I don't know. Jasmine?
Jasmine is saying tomorrow.
Okay, I know. So, all right. During the next break, you all decide when you want the test, tomorrow or Thursday, the quiz, tomorrow or Thursday. Okay. All right. Now, hold on. So, And then next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Last day of Deaf Histories, Wednesday. Next week, Wednesday.
Jasmine
45.
is asking, that will be next week, right?
Very sad.
So
One more time.
Jasmine asking that will be next week, the last day of Deaf
Yes,
History.
yeah. So probably on Wednesday of next week, which is the last day of class, it will be 45 hours of class.
Sir, Dr. Woody, Yami is saying, why do we end the Deaf History? If we can continue, we can do more research about it. I'm not
Yes.
satisfied. I think it's not enough. Can we do it? Can we do more?
Well, we have to start on the book. So, yeah. So if you want to do more research, of course you can. And I don't know, let's talk with Teshi about this. But I think Teshi wants us to start on the book, which will be a class called Applied Sign Language Linguistics, or Applied Sign
Yami is saying
Linguistics.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm glad you're interested in this. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we forget about, we don't know about, we pretend don't happen in history, you know, so I'm glad you're interested in doing more research. So, you know, also we have group 2 who haven't taken the Deaf History class. So if some of you would like to work with me and group 2 to help teach that class, that's fine. Okay. And you can practice it.
Shaki say, So I think Nathaniel can be a good teacher.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about right now Deaf Histories. And of course, when we start teaching about other courses, Ming asked about linguistics. Yes. The second group of students has to learn phonology, and morphology.
Yami is saying, I think Meng can help because she's very industrious when it comes to research about Deaf History.
Okay, so I'm just pointing that out. Let me, hold on a second here, let me see. Okay, and I'm not finished with the questions yet. So also number 70, slide number 70, 1979, linguistics department is established at Gallaudet. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And then slide number 71. Slide number 71, as you see in 1983, Carol Padden becomes the first deaf person to receive a PhD in linguistics. So some of you who are working on her background will also find out more things, but I want you to know she received her PhD 1983. Okay, so that's 18 questions. And the date for a deaf president now, it's on slide 82, is 1988. And you should know King Jordan's name. Okay. Something else I wanted to mention about that. Oh, well, I forgot. Okay, so I'll pick one other question at random between, only one, between slides, hold on. Okay, one other question taken at random. Let's say slides 56 through 72. So you don't really need to study much for that. But what I want you to do is go through these questions that I marked for you. And those are 19 out of 20 questions. And then one question will be something that I'll see if you know. But 19 questions are the ones I listed here. So do you want to read off to me what you have, what you need to study, or you want me to read it again?
Maybe I think Pibs is saying Pibs. I suggest that we will, as a team, will do research and then we will.
Need to go ahead and finish with the PowerPoint, or do you want to have some time to start preparing for your presentation? I think the presentation could also be on the 27th. Or if you're finished earlier, we could do it on the 22nd, which is Thursday. One of the groups could.
Yes, sir. I guess we can do that. We can do group work.
Okay. Group work now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So group work now. Sleep tight.
Good night, sir. Good night.
Yeah. Teasing. Actually, in Vietnam, you don't say sleep well. You say sleep or sleep delicious.
That's Vietnamese culture, Shaq's asking?
Yeah, Vietnamese culture. I don't know about hearing culture if people say sleep delicious, but for deaf culture, you say food and sleep are both delicious. Okay. All right, so we'll close for now. If you want to continue, of course, it's fine. But we'll let the interpreters go. And then we'll meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, okay. All right. Now, I just found out from Christian that we have class at the, hold on. That we will have class on the 27th and 28th. Because vacation will not start until 29th. Yeah, okay. So I got confused and I thought vacation started on 28th, but I think we can have class on 28th. Okay.
Right, sir. Vacation starts on the 29th. Right.
All right. All right, great. So see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock your time. And we'll talk about strategy for the test, for the quiz, and finishing up the lecture, and then finishing up your presentations too. Okay? I think we can finish review everything by the end of the 28th. So Ray had a question?
Yes. October 29th is Techi's birthday. Just to let you know.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, so maybe you have to have her birthday present on 28th, right? Because you close on 29th. Okay.
Right, sir. Right.
Right. See you tomorrow then. Okay. Thanks very much to everybody, interpreters.